This is the World Report for October 2019. Coming up, the church's partnership with the NAACP reaches new milestones.
After years of renovation, the Oakland, California temple is rededicated. And the church is formally recognized in the Middle Eastern country of Kuwait. But first, President Nelson's continuing ministry takes him throughout the Pacific, Latin America, and the United States.
And here's our friend. Yeah.
In representing Jesus Christ as his modern-day prophet, President Russell M. Nelson, 17th President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ministered as the Savior did, one by one, on a 9-day ministry throughout Latin America this past August. Accompanied by his wife, Wendy, and Elder Quentin L. Cook of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and his wife, Mary, President Nelson's first stop was in Guatemala, where 400 buses brought members from all parts of the country to the Estadio Cementos Progreso in Guatemala City.
Oh, por favor, enseñen a sus hijos y también unos a otros acerca del Señor Jesucristo.
With more than 21,000 people in attendance, President Nelson still found time to minister to the one.
One door closes and another door will open for you.
And talk with government and faith leaders about common concerns.
The family is under attack.
Las familias están bajo
Marriage
ataque.
is under attack. So we have to lock arms and walk together.
The second visit of President Nelson's Latin American ministry was to Colombia, where he met with the President of Colombia and other government leaders.
Recibimos un gran consuelo de Dios cuando Él dice, esta es mi obra y mi gloria, llevar a cabo la inmortalidad y la vida eterna del hombre.
When I saw all people there, I thought, wow, they are a very strong church. I hope we can stay strong together.
Following their visit to Colombia, the Nelsons and Cooks traveled to Ecuador, where they met with more than 11,000 people in the capital city of Quito and more than 12,000 by broadcast.
Mi consejo hoy es muy simple. Guarden los mandamientos de Dios.
While such a visit reaches thousands of Latter-day Saints, the impact can still be very personal.
It was very emotional to feel the Spirit when President Nelson entered the room.
Following Ecuador, President Nelson traveled to Buenos Aires, Argentina, where he spent time with individuals who had just received new custom-fit wheelchairs made possible by a donation from Latter-day Saint Charities and CILSA.
Todo corazón. Lo que hacen por todos los chicos es muy lindo.
For 12-year-old Rosario, the new wheelchair means new opportunities for her and her family.
Ahora que tengo mi silla de ruedas voy a poder correr un montón.
Quisiera agradecerles por su gran fe, por su devoción, por sus hijos e hijas, quien obran como misioneros.
President Nelson again expressed gratitude for missionaries when he arrived in Brasilia, Brazil, and met in person and by broadcast with more than 5,000 missionaries from 35 missions across the country. Moving from the nation's capital to Sao Paulo, the Nelsons and the Cooks met with more than 37,000 people who were gathered to hear their inspired counsel.
We can also be one with our families by making our homes sanctuaries of faith.
We can bring to the Lord all of our questions, and we will be given answers.
Every time we visit the temple and perform ordinances there, we are walking on holy ground.
Thank you.
This visit to Brazil completed President Nelson's Latin American ministry, 5 countries in 9 days. He met with church members, heads of state, and other government, community, and faith leaders.
In May, President Nelson's ministry took him to the island nations of the Pacific Ocean. Accompanied by his wife Wendy and Elder Garrett W. Gong and his wife Susan, President Nelson first stopped in Hawaii, home to more than 74,000 Latter-day Saints. There, they visited with community leaders who also attended the evening devotional at the Kona Hawaii Stake Center.
He does want us to have immortality and eternal life, but he wants us to choose this course.
Continuing south, the Nelsons and Gongs traveled to Samoa, where they were greeted warmly by Latter-day Saints, journalists, and government leaders.
So the Lord has asked me to let you know tonight that we have a solemn duty to prepare our people for the difficult days that lie ahead.
I'm a Catholic, but I know it's God's prophet that He brings peace to us. It's really filled my heart.
On the third stop of the tour, President Nelson spoke to more than 8,000 Latter-day Saints and friends of the church at the International Convention Center in Sydney, Australia.
I'm wondering if you need oxygen up there on that back row. I bless you to love the Lord Jesus Christ and to feast upon his words, particularly as they're divinely given to you in the Book of Mormon.
Traveling east, President Nelson's ministry took him to New Zealand, where he first stopped in Wellington and met with Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern.
We discussed how people can have differing points of view and yet learn to live and love with one another.
You know, President Nelson is a natural diplomat. He's a prophet for the church, but he's also a prophet for the world.
A day after his visit with the Prime Minister, President Nelson traveled to Auckland, where he met with local and national Muslim leaders. There he offered his deepest condolences and support following the March terrorist attacks in 2 mosques in the city of Christchurch.
May God continue to bless the families and individuals impacted by the events of March 15th, and may he bring us even closer together as neighbors and friends.
More than 12,000 people were in attendance at an evening devotional in Auckland, with thousands more participating via a broadcast to meeting houses nationwide.
I bless you that you'll have safety and success in your lives, that your homes will be sanctuaries of reverence and love.
On the 5th stop of the Prophet's Tour, more than 5,000 Latter-day Saints and friends of the church gathered in the Fijian city of Suva. Members traveled up to 5 hours in anticipation of the arrival of their beloved prophet.
Not every day or every year that we get this opportunity, and so this is a big thing.
Thank you for my decoration. I feel like I've been wrapped in love.
As a parting gift, the congregation surprised President Nelson with the Fijian farewell song, Isa Lei. At the next stop on the Pacific Tour, President Nelson met with the King and Queen of Tonga. Despite the inclement weather, thousands of Latter-day Saints attended a devotional to hear a prophet's voice.
As you and I firmly hold on to the Lord, we can safely navigate our way through rough waters.
President Nelson concluded his Pacific ministry on the tropical island of Tahiti. There, he and his wife Wendy met with President Edouard Fritsch and the First Lady of French Polynesia and other government and faith leaders.
Please protect yourself from Satan's traps.
After traveling nearly 18,000 miles and ministering to nearly 100,000 people in person and hundreds of thousands more through broadcasts, President Nelson's Pacific ministry concluded as another historic event in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
In June, just 2 weeks after his Pacific ministry tour, President Nelson and Elder Dieter F. Uchtdorf of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles visited Orlando, Florida. The visit coincided with the 3-year anniversary of a mass shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Before an evening devotional, President Nelson met with Barbara Poma, the owner of the club that is now being turned into a sanctuary of hope.
We come together on June 12th to really stand together in solidarity, to comfort one another, to help us move through a healing process.
That evening, President Nelson offered a gospel message to the people of Orlando.
the happiest place on earth? It is wherever the Spirit of the Lord dwells in the hearts of the people.
At the northwestern shore of the Arabian Gulf is the state of Kuwait, bustling with modernism as displayed by its robust commerce and piercing skyscrapers. Kuwait is known for its rich tradition as peacemakers in the region, including religious tolerance. Such increase of religious rights has been granted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The mosque is considered a house of God.
Through a ceremonial visit to Kuwait on behalf of the Church's first presidency, Elder Quinton L. Cook, an apostle of the Church, and his wife Mary expressed gratitude for the Church's recent recognition. It's the first time a religious organization has been formally recognized in Kuwait in more than 40 years. The meeting was held in Kuwait City with Farid Asad Abdullah Imadi, Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs. Kuwait is predominantly Muslim, with some 20% of its residents practicing Christianity, and Latter-day Saints have a growing presence. Elder Cook spoke to a crowd of nearly 200 people packed in several floors at the Kuwait Ward Meeting House.
You will influence lives while you're here.
While the formal recognition strictly prohibits the proselyting to and baptism of Muslims, the Church's increased standing strengthens the opportunities to operate, serve, and worship.
It is extremely significant when you have the authority as a church to open a bank account and to rent our own property and to seek visas for people who might serve as volunteers in doing humanitarian or community service, all of the things that the church does. And so this is no small thing.
I've been the pioneer of the church, the Kuwait Ward, and I feel very, very happy because of the recognition.
We did a lot of fasting and praying hard to our Heavenly Father, and very much grateful for the Kuwait government for this recognition.
While in Kuwait, Elder and Sister Cook visited with a senior member of the Kuwaiti royal family, Her Excellency Sheikha Intisar Salim Al-Ali Al-Subah.
And you come from a really good family.
I come from a long line of peacemakers.
At a traditional gathering for men known as a Diwaniyah, local community government and interfaith leaders visited with Elder Cook, giving them an opportunity to be better acquainted with the church.
And there are incredible desserts back here. Come on back. Come on back here. And they're not big. They're not big. Come on. Come on.
Led by Sister Cook, Latter-day Saint women also gathered for fellowship.
When we had this recognition, I was just so grateful because it was spread all over, not just here in Kuwait. It was like all over the world.
There is strength in the group. You feel it, don't you?
Kuwait was dedicated for the blessings of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ by Apostle Elder Jeffrey R. Holland in 2011 at this spot overlooking Kuwait City.
I'm the only one that's got on a hat, but it is 120 degrees. And
it was a moment symbolic of the good. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had been progressively providing for several decades to each other and the community. A moment now leading up to another beginning, official recognition.
It gives us a chance to reach out and to be outgoing and to reach out to the outside communities, whether they be Christian or whether they be Islamic. We don't have to hide our light behind a bushel as such anymore.
We're just so thrilled that the recognition came that can confirm the faith of so many members.
I see incredible things are going to happen in the future. I wouldn't be surprised to see other countries in the Gulf give recognition that we don't now have. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of it come as a result of the leadership and the effort.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints continues to rapidly grow throughout parts of Western Africa, with official recognition granted in the country of Mali. Religious and community leaders joined government officials at a ceremony in the capital city of Bamako.
We're not closed, we are open. Mali is
an open country for all religions.
There are about 50 Latter-day Saint families in Mali, a country of 15 million people. This change in status allows the church to better minister to its members and for missionaries to be called there to serve.
It all begins with the love they have for God and then the love we have for each other. I was blessed to start coming to Mali before the church was organized here, and I have some people that I've grown to love very deeply.
Years in the making, progress accelerated after Apostle David A. Bednar blessed the land in 2017.
It was a historic and memorable day for the people of Mali and for the Latter-day Saints in general, but for the saints in Mali.
Mali joins Senegal and Guinea as the countries most recently welcoming the church on the continent of Africa.
Straight ahead, the humanity and divine connection that links us all. President Nelson speaks to the NAACP.
And honoring a lifetime of Christ-like service, the church celebrates the 95th birthday of the prophet.
Detroit, Michigan, known as the Motor City, Motown, and recently the home of the 110th annual convention of the NAACP.
A brother of another mother.
Among the many guests,
a brother of another faith tradition,
was President Russell M. Nelson, President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
We truly believe that we are brothers and sisters, all part of the same divine family.
His convention speech on July 21st was the latest step in a relationship between the church and the NAACP that has grown quickly and warmly.
Hello, Amos.
Good to see you again.
How are you, dear friend?
The relationship has especially blossomed since last year, when the leaders of the two organizations stood arm in arm at a news conference in Salt Lake City. Since then, the church and the NAACP have partnered to provide education and employment efforts in several cities, including a personal finance course in Chicago.
We have the evidence, we have the data that we've made a difference. If we could do that with 10 people in Chicago, imagine the impact and the influence we can have together around this country.
Earlier this year in Washington, D.C., at a gala sponsored by the BYU Management Society, Elder Gary E. Stevenson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles honored the NAACP for its commitment to advancing equality and justice in society.
The organization's coming together was historic, but I think there is more history to be made than just us being partners, and so I look forward to the journey as it unfolds.
I wanted President Nelson to come to our convention and see our folks, meet our folks, see how we operate. It's all about getting to know each other.
We are all connected.
This is the first time that a president of the church has addressed the NAACP convention.
On September 6th, Latter-day Saints and Friends of the Church gathered in Salt Lake City to celebrate the 95th birthday of President Russell M. Nelson.
The word father to my dad, I think, is his highest calling.
Honoring a lifetime of Christ-like service, the gala shared insights into the life, ministry, and service of President Nelson.
Just by the way they lived their lives, the way they taught the gospel in our home, we learned love, we learned respect.
Videos focused on how that ministry and his career and family have shaped who he is as a special witness of Jesus Christ. Along with the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the evening saw performances from Jenny Oaks Baker and Family 4, Gentry, the Bonner Family, Nathan Pacheco, and Donny Osmond. And an unexpected piano performance by President Nelson himself.
If I've learned anything certain in my 95 years of life, it is that Jesus the Christ is the Son of God, my Redeemer, my exemplar and friend.
Still to come, the church's gospel literacy program brings faith and opportunity.
Women that I've observed here have become leaders.
Plus, the highly anticipated production of the Book of Mormon, when we come back. A pilot program designed to improve literacy while teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ has been launched in Sierra Leone. Relief Society General President Jean B. Bingham and her husband Bruce traveled to the West African country in early June to help implement the church's gospel literacy program.
For some years, I taught English as a second language, and some of the students that I worked with were not particularly literate. They really struggled with reading and writing, and it was such a joy to help them open that door to the possibilities.
Learners meet with gospel literacy teachers on Sundays and are given manuals to study.
So if you put these two words together like this,
Women participating in the program are encouraged to teach their families what they are learning.
How do you share what you learn with your family?
In a local congregation in Kenema, Sister Bingham met with Juliet Numa, a Relief Society president and single mother who was participating in the gospel literacy program.
She did not know how to read or write. Juliet was invited to join a gospel literacy class. Wonderful to see her progress. The gospel literacy program can be life-changing. I've seen how women that I've observed here have become leaders. And you know, leaders influence an entire community.
Elder Garrett W. Gong of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, along with Sister Sharon Eubank of the Relief Society General Presidency, and other global faith representatives, attended this year's G20 Interfaith Forum in Tokyo, Japan.
What's been so impressive to me is the level of support among Japanese society and the faiths that are here in Japan.
It's really quite wonderful to see those from diverse religious beliefs gather in common cause for children, for concerns on refugees, for sustainable development.
Make sure you look out them.
For Adam Andrake, directing the Book of Mormon video series' third season is more than the typical behind-the-camera experience.
By the unrighteousness of your lawyers and your judges.
It means a special opportunity to bring the scriptures from another testament of Jesus Christ to life.
2 cameras, A-Mark.
I sit and watch my director's screen as I'm directing the scene, and I'm thinking to myself, I am so thankful I'm seeing this. I've read the book many times, but just to see it come to life is awesome.
The Holy One of Israel.
Just like the previous seasons, this latest season is based on the Book of Mormon's events and core message, Jesus Christ. It follows prophets Alma and Amulek, King Benjamin, and many others as they share the Savior's teachings in the Americas.
I'm hoping that we can convey enough of the story to get people interested to actually want to read, to find out what is this about.
Season 3 required 44 days of filming and a massive production team in various locations, including Kauai, Hawaii, and the arid Goshen, Utah desert.
It has just felt super special. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of inspiration for us as actors to come here and work, and it doesn't feel like work.
The videos from seasons 1 and 2 are scheduled to premiere as visual resources in 15 languages on the Book of Mormon Videos YouTube channel or bookofmormonvideos.org. One video each Friday, starting September 20th, 2019 through the end of the year. Seasons 3 and 4 will make their eventual debut in 2020 and 2021.
It's exciting to see all the different resources that have come together to make this project a reality and to bring the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ to all corners of the world, thanks to technology. I'm very excited that it's coming.
Coming up next, for the first time in over 60 years, the United Nations Civil Society Conference is held outside of New York and finds support in Salt Lake City.
And later, we'll take a guided tour of the newly renovated Oakland, California temple.
Never forget Salt Lake City. It's going to remain in the books of the United Nations history.
Thousands of United Nations delegates, as well as other attendees from around the globe, are taking home a wealth of shared experiences after the United Nations Civil Society Conference completed its final session after 3 days at the Salt Palace Convention Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Held in New York since the early 1950s, the conference moved to the Mountain West and enjoyed a unique blend of civic, community, and faith-based support in Utah, including the support of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I'm humbled to address such a diverse and distinguished audience.
GERALD CAUSSÉ, the presiding bishop of the church, spoke to the General Assembly in the final day, praising the good work they do for a safer and more compassionate world.
70% of all these articles were produced within the system.
U.S. congressional leaders took a tour of Welfare Square, while UN leaders visited the Latter-day Saint Humanitarian Center to see up close how the church prepares to assist people from every walk of life.
I'm very impressed with the comprehensive nature of the services provided here, and I really would like to see more in my own district.
During the Civil Society Conference, many delegates were treated to a performance by the Tabernacle Choir and Orchestra at Temple Square.
One word, magical.
It's all about uniting people. It's all about connecting people. What I took out of there is much more than just the ordinary music. I feel the message that is going to the world and something that deeply connects us together.
Bishop GERALD CAUSSÉ delivered a keynote address at a United Nations conference in Geneva, Switzerland in mid-September. The event, sponsored by Latter-day Saint Charities, addressed the role of education in displaced populations.
As a member of the presiding bishopric, I take a lot of pleasure in being involved in humanitarian work, and I must say it's a way to testify of our faith in Jesus Christ to be involved in that kind of work. There are about 70 million refugees around the world. Unfortunately, this is a number that is increasing every year, and only 60% of their children are in school. And so there is a big effort that will be crucial for their future.
Sharon Eubank, president of Latter-day Saint Charities, joined Bishop CAUSSÉ and led a panel discussion with leaders from UNICEF and the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
Religions and religious-based organizations are human rights defenders in their own ways.
The global humanitarian leaders discussed the importance of having faith-based organizations partner with government and other organizations to care for people in need.
I'm happy to be representing the 7 Million Relief Society Sisters in this kind of a setting. This is the first time we've ever sponsored a side event here at the United Nations in Geneva. We're really excited to begin, but there's much more work to do in the future.
Dedications, rededications, and renovations. We'll take you to new and restored temples around the globe, from the Democratic Republic of the Congo to Haiti and the United States. Coming up next.
In addition to 8 new temples announced in General Conference, temple renovations, open houses, and dedications have continued around the globe. We begin in Oakland, California, where members have been anticipating their temple's rededication for more than a year. As it has for more than 50 years, the warm glow of temple light returns to shine over the San Francisco Bay Area. Its new renovation and updates completed, the temple was rededicated by President Dallin H. Oaks of the First Presidency on June 16th.
What is here is a remarkable
house of the Lord.
Also at the dedication was Elder David A. Bednar, who grew up in the area.
I was a 12-year-old boy and attended the dedication in 1964 when President David O. McKay presided. To be this close and think back more than 50 years to that experience in my youth, it's kind of surreal.
Prior to the dedication, members of the press, as well as local religious and community leaders, were invited to tour the temple during its public open house.
I think it's a great gift to say to the world, look at this place, look at God's house, look at God's dwelling place. This is how and where we unite and keep families together.
An in-depth look at the newly renovated Oakland, California temple will be featured later in this broadcast.
Crossing the United States to the Caribbean, we arrive at the island nation of Haiti. The Port-au-Prince Haiti Temple was dedicated in 3 sessions on Sunday, September 1st, by Elder David A. Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. A youth devotional and open house were held prior to the dedication, both of which were broadcast to meeting houses throughout the Temple District, which serves more than 23,000 Latter-day Saints. Continuing south, we arrive at the Fortaleza, Brazil Temple. First announced by President Thomas S. Monson, ground was broken for the Fortaleza, Brazil Temple in 2011. Following a 3-week public open house earlier this year, the temple was dedicated June 2nd by Elder Ulysses Suarez of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. This is the 7th temple in Brazil, with 4 more announced or under construction.
Crossing the South Atlantic Ocean and into Central Africa, we arrive at the Kinshasa Democratic Republic of the Congo Temple, which was dedicated on Sunday, April 14th, by Elder Dale G. Renland of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
Nous allons maintenant commencer la cérémonie de la pose de la pierre angulaire.
Speaking in French, Elder Renland also conducted the cornerstone ceremony, where children were invited to take part in this traditional dedication event.
Et pendant que j'ai assisté dans cette consécration du temple, j'ai vraiment ressenti l'Esprit du Seigneur.
Ma famille sera au temple et ils seront scellés avec mes ancêtres. La joie est tellement immense.
I think many of them have prayed for this blessing for years, for decades, and the Lord has seen fit to direct his prophet to build a temple here.
Crossing North Africa, we travel to Portugal, where on Sunday, September 15th, the Lisbon, Portugal temple was dedicated by Elder Neil L. Anderson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. First announced in 2010 and with ground broken in 2015, the Lisbon, Portugal temple is the first to be built in Portugal and the 14th temple in Europe. The temple will serve some 45,000 Latter-day Saints residing in Portugal and neighboring countries.
In April, President Russell M. Nelson announced plans to renovate the historic Salt Lake Temple. Located in the heart of the city, this iconic edifice, built by pioneer hands in the 19th century, originally took 40 years to complete. Starting after the temple closes, December 29th of this year, the current improvements and structural upgrades will take an estimated 4 years to complete. The extensive work will include the creation of more access points around the temple square wall, subterranean excavation at the base of the temple for new mechanical and plumbing systems, and foundation and support improvements to withstand earthquakes and further protect the temple's interior. During construction, other significant church buildings, museums, libraries, and visitors areas will remain open. In May, it was announced that the St. George, Utah temple will also undergo significant renovation. That temple, which will close November 4th, will undergo extensive structural, mechanical, and finishing work, as well as significant improvements to the grounds. The renovation of the St. George, Utah temple is expected to be completed in 2022.
Coming up, thousands of volunteers create hygiene kits for girls around the world, boxes of love for those recovering from tragedy, and provide shelter for those who need it most. These stories and more in the news.
Latter-day Saints and the larger faith community in Northern California made a big difference in the lives of thousands of women around the world through an initiative called Days for Girls. About 1,000 volunteers from 5 churches and other community organizations in Rocklin, California, worked to create 2,000 hygiene kits made especially to assist women during menstruation.
All over this world, there are women who lose days of their life to something as simple as menstruation. It helps them to stay in the classroom, to be able to go to work, to have their days back.
Latter-day Saints and Muslims in New Zealand joined hands to create Boxes of Love, a new initiative focused on providing food to families impacted by the tragedy of the mosque shootings in Christchurch in March. The founder of the initiative, Hafsa Ahmed, reached out to local Latter-day Saint church leaders to help with the effort. The result has been a demonstration of humanity and faith, all to help a community as it heals.
This has been a very intense experience to share the challenges that are placed upon these people. We love them and that the community loves them.
In addition to church members donating their time and vehicles, Latter-day Saint Charities has donated $25,000 for the construction of housing units for the homeless in Oakland, California.
We'll be able to house about 76 people here in total. It's a great way for the community to get involved. It helps us stretch our budget further to serve more people.
In addition to housing, this project aims to provide access to clothing, food, hygiene supplies, mental health and addiction recovery resources, and health care. During the National Governors Association summer meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah, spouses of governors from around the United States toured the Latter-day Saint Humanitarian Center. Led by Latter-day Saint Charities President Sister Sharon Eubank, the governor's spouses assembled hygiene kits for the ongoing hurricane and fire season.
In September, President M. Russell Ballard of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, along with other church leaders, outlined details for the church's new Children and Youth program.
Helping children and youth to gain a testimony of Jesus Christ will bless them and all of us all of our lives.
This new program will replace Scouting, Personal Progress, Duty to God, and Faith in God beginning in January 2020. As a part of the church's new initiative for children and youth, the For the Strength of Youth program will be expanded. Based on the Especially for Youth program run by Brigham Young University, FSY will include a 5-day conference of activities, devotionals, and classes providing opportunities to grow spiritually, socially, physically, and intellectually. President M. Russell Ballard, acting president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, ministered to the people of India in May, marking his first visit to the country. Accompanied by Bishop Dean M. Davies of the presiding bishopric, President Ballard encouraged church members to prepare for the coming temple in Bengaluru, the first temple to be built in India.
Elder D. Todd Christofferson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and presiding Bishop GERALD CAUSSÉ traveled to West Africa in late May, where they spoke and met with government leaders in that region. Elder Christofferson spoke with Akufo-Addo, the president of Ghana, about strengthening families and about humanitarian work being done by church members there. Straight ahead, we return to the city by the bay and see the history, design, and breathtaking restoration of the Oakland, California Temple when we come right back. It's a gleaming landmark in daylight or darkness from any vantage point of the San Francisco Bay Area. The 13th temple, constructed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, perched in the Oakland Hills, serves as a beacon to all. The iconic 95,000 square foot structure underwent phases of temporary closures for renovation over the past few years, most recently for nearly a year and a half. This year, for the first time since its original open house in 1964, the public had a chance to experience the unique beauty of the Oakland, California temple prior to being rededicated for its sacred purpose. Land was purchased by the church in 1943. A large multifunction meeting house was built in the 1950s, and construction started on the temple in 1962. With each reinforced concrete layer, the vision of architect Harold W. Burton began to take shape.
He wanted to celebrate things like air conditioning and artificial lighting and these technological breakthroughs that have been happening in the first half of the 20th century. So he incorporated a windowless building.
Burton also added towers, the center reaching 170 feet, uncharacteristic of modern design, but appropriate for the look of a temple. Frieze-style reliefs, reminiscent of more classical motifs depicting the Savior in different scenes, were added to the front and back of the temple.
People at first glance think, oh, this must be Christ and his 12 apostles. But a closer look shows that there are women and children there. These are his disciples. These are his followers. And all of us, as we approach the front door of the temple, can look up, consider ourselves among the group assembled there as his disciples.
What may be considered even more unique is the subtle Asian influence found in the temple's exterior spires, upturned roof caps, and railing.
It's completely in tune with its location, with the San Francisco Bay Area.
Adding more distinction, a one-of-a-kind water feature that cascaded down from the second-level garden terrace into a courtyard reflection pool, but removed in 1969 because of irreparable leaks. With modern-day materials and technology, the leaking problem was rectified and the aesthetically pleasing waterfall feature restored.
So now to enter the building, you walk under the waterfall to get to the front door.
Other technological improvements include seismic updates and converting steam boilers to more energy-efficient natural gas. The main floor includes a new waiting area and one of the only areas with windows, added in the latest remodeling to pick up the natural light and view of the courtyard's reflection pool.
In the morning, the sun will rise through the windows, and it's like they've never had that in this building before.
The bridal room, also on the main floor, features elegant full-length mirrors, opulent crystal sconces, and refined Oriental design seating. The second floor of the temple contains instruction rooms where temple patrons learn about God's creation, his love, the purpose of life, and participate in the most sacred ceremonies of the faith. This was one of the first temples to employ film instead of a live presentation that enables more patrons to participate in one session. Burton believed a windowless design and theater-esque setting would enhance the viewing experience. Ceiling rooms are located on the third level, adorned with dark cherry wood paneling and backlit marble altars. This is where families can be joined together forever. The mirrors remind patrons of that blessing with seemingly endless reflections that symbolize eternity. The celestial room represents the progression to heaven itself. Wood, marble, and elegant furnishings reflect modernism's vintage color palette, while the continuing Oriental theme is present, down to painstaking detail in the sculpted carpet design, mirrored on the ceiling in gold leaf.
We hope that when you walk into this temple now, it will still feel very much like a 1960s modern building.
We want people who are not of our faith to have an understanding of what we believe and who we are. What's the purpose of the temple? It isn't just building something magnificent. It has a purpose to bring us closer to heaven, bring us closer to Jesus Christ, who we worship.
This has been the World Report for October 2019.
To watch the World Report online, go to newsroom.churchofjesuschrist.org.